But first, whiners and winners. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Who said Democrats don't have a bright future? They're young, they're bold, and they're fearless.
You won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law. And that applies to Hamas, that applies to the Israeli military, applies to anyone you could ask me about.
If you're Zoran, well, you never know when you need those Hamas votes, after all. But what about Democrats on Capitol Hill? Well, come on, you got to be fair here. They are tackling some of the really big issues, like Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. He's mad that he's not in the majority, so he's obsessing about Epstein, a swearing-in ceremony, and the pronunciation of his own name.
There are two senators, Kelly and Grijalva and Gallegos, to do their job and vote to open the government so we can move forward with our business.
Okay, first of all, you pedo protector, Speaker Johnson, it's Gallego, not Gallegos or Gallegos, it's Gallego. Again, Gallego. Learn it.
Gallego. Wow, I did it. Do I win like the home version of the stupid Democrats game? All right, and on the state level, Democrats really are killing it as well, and their constituents are very busy. More Chicago violence against ICE. These are future Democrat voters. If they're not legal citizens now, under Democrat rule, they would be. So they were involved, some of them, in a crash where they rammed ICE vehicles.
We're going to call for accountability, and indeed, you know, the tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that, but they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration for the things that they did. They're acting like a bunch of thugs.
Okay. He's not going after the criminals. He's going after ICE. They're the thugs, and the thugs should remain in the United States as long as possible. Now, I think his blood sugar may have cratered or something. I wasn't sure what's going on there. But Trump's got Pritzker all tied up in a pretzel. But at least we can always count on California's Democrats to keep it real. Donald Trump won the election, remember, in large part because of his promise to shut the border down and to deport illegals. But lefty leaders out there are digging in on two fronts. First, by fighting ICE, and second, by giving more freebies to illegals. Think about it. Democrats now are paying illegals to stay, not work, and not self-deport. Again, got to protect a future constituency. But while the Democrats flounder in their radical doom loop, literally working against the Americans' interests, Team Trump is working overtime to take on the big issues and our most dangerous adversaries. From crime to China, they're moving on all fronts. So if you're a Blue City mayor who's been content to manage crime instead of fight it, you're on notice. Today, the FBI, the DOJ, and the president announced a wide-ranging operation to rescue our cities plagued by violence and gripped by fear.
Historically, the summer months have been a time when violent crime soar, as you know, but not under President Trump. Today, we're announcing the results of a sweeping law enforcement effort known as Operation Summer Heat. We were in many cities that people didn't know about. We kept it a little quiet. Over the past few months, FBI offices in all 50 states made crushing violent crime a top enforcement priority. That's what they did, rounding up and arresting thousands of the most violent and dangerous criminals.
What a novel concept, safe cities. Trump loves our cities. He always has. And today, he and his team made it clear that no American city should be ever left behind. And their early crime-fighting results so far have been pretty stunning.
He also led the charge in the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. These people have been on the run for years. And in 7 months, you captured not one, not two, not three, but 4 of the FBI's most top 10 fugitives. 4. The Biden administration captured 4 in all of 4 years. You're on 7, and we're going to get to 10. We're going to get to 10 of 10. This includes a lady who murdered her 6-year-old handicapped child and fled to India. This includes a narco trafficker. This includes a sex trafficker.
Now, not just that, thousands of arrests, bad people off the streets. And in a move that will likely be controversial in some quarters, the administration clearly intends to use every tool at its disposal to stop drugs from ever reaching U.S. soil. So does that mean striking cartel operations not just on sea, but on land?
We are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple of days where there isn't a boat to be found. And that, I view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. But we had tremendous amounts coming in by boats, by very expensive boats. You know, they have a lot of money, very fast, very expensive boats that were pretty big.
Look out, Venezuela. Hope you like fireworks. And as Democrats kowtow to pro-Hamas, pro-trans, anti-American rageaholics, Trump's cabinet is engaging in complex trade maneuvers to put our only real adversary back on their heels. And if China thought, by the way, that going Cujo on us with rare earths would make Trump crumble, there's a big piece in the Wall Street Journal about that today, well, they miscalculated big time. In fact, President Xi just ensured that Trump's team would rally the world.
This is China versus the world. It's not a U.S.-China problem. We're going to be speaking with our European allies, with Australia, with Canada, with India, and the Asian democracies. And we're going to have a fulsome group response to this. They are a command and control economy, and they are going to neither command nor control us. And we're going to assert sovereignty, so are the Western allies.
Only Scott Bessent could, come off with the word fulsome and just love that, right? Well, given the high stakes here, we should all say a prayer of gratitude today that Kamala, a Kamala-appointed Treasury Secretary, isn't up against China today. Xi would be clinking champagne glasses right now in Taiwan. And Secretary they-them would be ordering a extra large box of Depends. Instead, we have a bright economic outlook, a fantastic team, and gas prices way down. $37, by the way, cheaper. I noticed this. I went to fill my tank today than just 3 years ago. Wow. So yeah, AI is gobbling jobs, but that's why we need to keep reshoring all of our manufacturing. Everything we can, move it back here, and also remove all the illegal aliens that we can. The jobs created, the jobs brought here should be for Americans only. And yes, some legal immigrants as well, period. And by the way, banks. No one's talking about this either today. Banks are projecting solid growth. Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and the stock market today neared another all-time high. So there's a lot of work that remains to be done. Trump has said this repeatedly. Many challenges remain. It's going to be tough. But Trump and his staff are putting in the hard work, and it is a lot of work to do what they're doing. And it's the work, by the way, that the office requires. You can't call a lid at 11 a.m. and be a real president. So day by day, week by week, month by month, Trump's he's like a thoroughbred who loves the race. His foreign policy success, his coalition building in the Middle East was a masterstroke. He reinvented the U.S. approach to geopolitics and is now restoring America's economy. He makes the whiners look smaller and more insignificant by the day. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.